Welcome to Dragons in the House, a podcast we're discussing the HBO series House of the Dragon. I'm Dr. Scott Jordan, aka Zombie Scotty, cognitive psychologist, philosopher at Illinois State University.
My name is Cianna Greaves. I'm a podcast producer and public radio producer from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Dr. Stanford Carpenter. I'm a cultural anthropologist coming to you out of Chicago, Illinois.
And today we have come together to discuss season 1, episode 10, the season finale, The Black Queen. What'd you guys think?
Well,
come on, I loved it. I loved it. What about you guys?
I felt like we were back to another episode where not a lot happened, but it was great. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a lot of intrigue. It was very straightforward.
Straightforward. I think all that work that we did, because we're trying to watch it like we know we're watching Game of Thrones, and we're trying to fill in blanks, and they're telling their story bit by bit, jumping the years, and then these last couple episodes, it all just plays out, right? It just all plays out. All those things we've been watching and relationships we've seen developing. I thought it was incredible.
Well, one of the things I thought was really great about this episode is I felt like there's a real payoff for a lot of the earlier stuff and a lot of the earlier time jumps. I mean, even though this is a very simple, straightforward story, it was just packed with so much emotion because you knew the backstory. Like this could have been the pilot episode of a season, but man, it just felt different in part because we knew it's like, especially like when Corliss comes back, right?
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Oh, that was fantastic. And your thing about it was all a payoff. It absolutely was, right? We knew those relationships. You knew what every character was thinking at every second, right? And for me, this was the episode where we undoubtedly saw exactly what every character wants, right? There was no more hiding from anything. It's clear, Damon wants to be king. He puts his hand on her throat. He's so damn close. It was kind of disturbing, to be honest, to watch that scene. At the same time, it's clear what he wants. And I thought that she was her daddy's daughter, but she's no Viserys, right? In other words, she wants peace. She really, really wants peace. Yet she's not going to sacrifice her throne in the name of peace.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I thought was great was also watching them sit in the war room, sit at the table, and lay out all the different alliances, right? And what they thought everyone would do. So when Luke shows up, I was like, I thought he was going on a milk run. So did everybody else, right? The moment he saw the other dragon, I personally, if I saw that big ass dragon,
I would have laughed. I would have been like, I was too late.
Oh man.
It would have been a wrap. Like, this mission is over.
Over. Get back, go home. Massive. Godzilla massive.
It looks like a massive brontosaurus with wings.
Yeah.
This thing is just huge. I would have been like, all right, we were too late.
So there's a little bit of, I'm thinking like Rhaenyra, she's sitting there saying, okay, you're going to go, you're not going as warriors, you're going as emissaries, and everybody's okay. Yeah, we're going to go. And I'm thinking, it's not that easy. I mean, you guys are on the verge of, a civil war, and you're going to send your kid off by himself. I'm not saying she shouldn't have. I'm just thinking, you know who Otto is, you know who these people are. And
but there is a social, as crazy as Westeros is, there are customs and traditions and social contracts. It's sort of like what happened with the Red Wedding, right?
Yes.
The Red Wedding was horrific.
Right.
It was a slaughter, but people were just absolutely disgusted by the fact that Walder Frey broke the social contract that you invite people into your home, you cannot harm them, you cannot betray them. So
and Baratheon actually enforced that, right? He said to Aemon, not in my house, not in my house.
And we saw it again in the staged fight with was it Corlys's son? I forget his name. Sorry, I usually have my House of the Dragon.
Oh, Laenor?
Laenor.
Right.
This idea of, what are you doing in my father's hall? Why are you fighting in my father's hall?
Like, I see what you're saying. Right.
So I can understand that not only do we have these customs and social contracts in place, she's also, these are Rhaenyra Targaryen's kids.
Yes.
Surely.
I mean, everyone had to know that if anything happened to the kids, it was civil war. And that was her way of saying, like, Right.
Well, that's a good point. She took the risk. She said, I'm sending my kids to you guys in good faith. And to be honest, the second time I watched it, I realized Luke did not command his dragon to flame up the other dragon. He actually tried to stop him. So what I loved about that is, goes all the way back to Viserys saying, we cannot control these things, right? And little dude, he got scared by the big guy and went back and flamed him up. These dragons don't mess around. And
they don't. And it's terrifying that you've got, Aemon is only 16 as well.
Yes.
You've got these two kids on these
flying nuclear weapons.
Essentially. Playing games.
So what do you guys think of Daemon this episode?
It's pretty on brand.
Pretty on brand.
I was very surprised. I was definitely expecting Daemon to be riding that dragon. Until I saw that it was Aemon, I was convinced that Daemon had actually grabbed the unclaimed dragon and was going after Viserys and or Jace, especially after that scene in the hall.
Oh, so you thought he was clearing out the Storm kids?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, because we talked about that, right? Because remember at that dinner when Aemon tried to go after Luke and Daemon just kind of steps up and stands there, that scene was like, don't worry, I'll be taking care of these boys.
Right.
You stay out of the way. But no, I that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I wouldn't have been surprised to see Daemon flying around like that. Would have been very cool to see.
And I was like, well, here we go.
Well, here's the thing. I gotta be honest. I read a spoiler that that challenges your interpretation of Daemon in that room.
Okay.
So I'll just say spoiler alert. One of the things that because in the books, one thing that happens after this is that
well, I guess we can't do that.
Right.
I guess we can't do that. No, that's okay. I'll just take it that my understanding of that scene was a possible understanding that proves to be incorrect later on in the narrative. And I'll take that.
I will say, though, speaking of spoilers, I don't know if maybe we can save this for the end of the episode. I will probably be reading these books before 2024. 2 years, bro?
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's a long time.
I got to tell you, this, I mean, the way they handled just the last 2 minutes of this episode were fantastic. I mean, she did everything short of turn around and breathe fire at the camera. I mean, that scene was just fantastic. Daemon taking her off to the side, and he's such a schmuck. I mean, he's trying to act like he cares. I'm sure he's saying all kinds of evil things about them. And then he's saying to himself, yep, one to go, one down, one to go.
Well,
it's true.
Okay, I can't say that because Stanford has a bit of data from later. That's right. Okay. Well, I won't talk about that one anymore. I did like Aemon when Luke showed up and Aemon said, Lord Strong. I
Nice
just like that.
eye.
Yeah.
I love
what's
that
that?
sapphire eye. I wonder if he got it from Tarth.
Oh,
Oh.
I don't know, but that was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
I mean,
Mhm.
what I also thought was really interesting was this was the first time we ever really, I mean, yeah, we saw that we saw a dragon fight a demon dragon, but this is the first time we really started to like get more insights into what happens when dragons fight.
Well said. Yes,
Yeah.
that was something that did not happen in Game of Thrones, and so this was a new kind of scene.
Yeah.
And doing
Especially
it in a
when-
rainstorm is just brilliant, man.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
so
in
cool.
episode 2, you hear Viserys talk about Vhagar, and he says that, some dragons are too big for this world. There was a conversation about,
Mhm.
whether or not about Vhagar being too big for the dragon pen. And this is a very worn, this is a dragon that's experienced war. Apparently, he was responsible, I believe, either Vhagar or Silverwing, which was the dragon that Damon claimed in this episode, is responsible for destroying Dorne.
Oh, wow.
These are just very vicious.
Yeah.
Even in Game of Thrones, we saw there were a few times where Dany could barely control Drogon.
Yeah.
He
Right.
hissed at her and
Yeah.
snapped at her. So, the idea of these two children riding these massive dragons is crazy. B, Aemon should never have been able to keep Vhagar. He is not an experienced dragon rider. And I think it's going to be a whole new ball game when these dragons are at war.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be bad.
I can imagine the opening scene of season 2 being pretty intense.
And what we know from
Pretty
Game
memorable.
of Thrones, from, when we hear Shireen talking about the Dance of Dragons, that this was a war that nearly tore apart the realm. And after this episode, I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think
no
she
joke,
literally meant like
probably.
they nearly destroyed the entire realm, because it's about to be, it's going to be wild. It's very scary.
Yeah.
I used to think the dragons were very cool in Game of Thrones. These are very different dragons.
Exactly.
Not those dragons. These are terrifying.
Yeah, I did like that, because they're not just taking care of the characters we like or anything like that. They got their own vicious world, and I just thought it was badass when that little dragon said, "You don't get to do that to me," and he tried to be bad and burn the other guy. It's like, what? You little gnat, I'm gonna eat you. It was horrible.
What a horrible death for poor Luke. What?
Oh no, I was gonna say
go
ahead.
What an awful way to die.
Well, it was quick, I bet.
I hope so. I hope he wasn't swallowed. Or I hope he didn't fall off the dragon and just plummet. I mean, it's just bad.
That was horrible.
Bad.
And that was, yeah, exactly. So there's a character in this episode that I just thoroughly enjoyed having in the episode. Didn't say much, but just provided a bubble for the whole thing, and that's Rhaenys. Most of the scenes, all she did was look at things and smile, right? She had her initial opening lines, "The Greens are coming to get you," blah, 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 blah. And then she has her lines with Corlys. They talk about the Iron Throne and their roles. And then she's just in the background of a lot of scenes, but you can see her. I want to say there's a sense of pride with the way Rhaenyra is carrying herself at the war council, and it was delightful to see her there and see her reactions.
Well, I gotta say, hats off to the costume designers, because Rhaenys's armor is fire. I mean, it was just I love her armor. I mean, I'm like, she's the one I'm afraid of when I see her ready for war. And the other thing I really liked was the conversation between Rhaenys and Corlys. When she first, like she's there, she's asleep, and that whole back and forth that they have, and even Corlys's reaction to his younger brother's death, right, was like, well,
right, Damon took his head.
Yep.
Yep.
But what I liked about it was watching it and seeing like the tenderness and the way they spoke to each other. Part of it was like, this is the story I want to see. I want to know more about Driftmark.
She's so self-assured though, and she's sure of herself, and she sticks up for what she believes is right, and she says what she believes is right.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to force her to do anything. We saw when they were at the funeral, she did not bow.
No, she didn't bow once. You're absolutely right. Nope. And as a matter of fact, it was when Corliss was in the war room. I think, I'm not gonna say he bowed, but he didn't. Did he not? He bowed and he bowed it, but his head says, "You'll have our house of support." I don't remember seeing her.
I don't think she did. Either. And I love the fact that this guy's been in a coma.
Right.
And her first words are, "You abandoned me. Like, I'm mad at you."
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like, I don't think your jokes are funny. Where have you been?
Yeah.
I needed you. Your grandchildren needed you.
Absolutely. No, I thought that's, as Stanford said, I thought the I guess I just call it the tenderness and the authenticity of their love for each other kind of shone through.
Well, this is the first time where we really got to see the chemistry between the two of them. Like I was like, oh, I get this. I get them as a couple, right? Like
a couple that's been together for a long time.
Yeah.
For sure. They definitely have that chemistry.
And they're I mean, they're both, I'm going to use the word mature, in the sense that she's wise. She knows who she is in that world. And he does too. I think he just hides from himself a little bit more than she does. I mean, that's why was able to take off for 6 years. But nonetheless, there's a part of her that can draw that out of him. And those are mature relationships.
For sure.
Yeah. So childbirth became an issue in this episode as well.
That is on my pad. Wow. I don't need any more of those scenes. I'm good. I don't need any more dead fetus scenes. We get it. We get it.
They went all over the spectrum on that issue this season, right?
Like enough. I was like, is it a dragon baby? Is it gonna turn it, like, why are we looking at this way? Is it gonna come back to life? Is it like half man, half dragon? Why is the camera so fixated on this on this lifeless fetus? There was no value added to this story whatsoever.
They must have done it because they thought they were saying something about her character.
It was grotesque, in my opinion.
What I thought was interesting was I mean, we knew that we knew the baby wasn't going to survive when she reached under her dress and her hand was bloody.
Right.
But what I saw, I actually thought that was really interesting, because what I saw in that was she was pregnant and all of a sudden she gets this news and her baby dies, right? That, like, I linked the two.
I think she definitely will probably, especially after the death of Lucerys, will place the blame of the death of her unborn child on the Greens as well. But pardon me, from that scene with the bloody hand, I loved watching her and going through those labor pains, standing up, still commanding the room, summoning her children, giving orders. Definitely, I think a little bit a depiction of childbirth that we don't see very often.
No. If at all.
If at all.
If at all.
Definitely realistic. After she pushed out this stillborn child, I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
No, it was creepy
when
as
we
hell.
saw her holding its head, and then it landed on the floor, and I was good at that point. I didn't need to see her futzing with it. I didn't need to see her rap. I don't know. It was just, it was
I don't know if they
overkill
were
for
trying
me.
to increase the sense of stakes.
How?
Because it did involve.
But we got it.
Well,
It was the baby,
well-
we saw it.
Well,
but I mean, to me,
she
it
could have also
communicated-
died.
But it also communicated to me that like so much was happening that having a stillborn baby, which should be like a traumatic
yeah.
experience that takes up everything, ended up just being a footnote, right? That like that it to me it drove home how big everything was that was happening.
Mhm.
But
Well, she does say, "Get out of me."
Right.
And on the one hand, that's just poetic, not meaning beautiful poetry, but it means a lot of different things. It's actually physically get out of me. And I've also got stuff to deal with. Also, I don't want this as part of what I am. And just this utter rejection of that infant, right? Or yeah. It was intense, I'll say that, and I was a little
I get it.
shocked.
I get why it was important to the story. I just didn't need so much of it.
It was so much. I couldn't
Like,
believe. I'm like looking away,
so
man. It's like, are you
much.
for no way, no. Oh my God, they shouted.
Like,
I
okay.
was shocked.
Like,
Yeah, I was shocked.
we're still with this dead baby. Okay.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, the other thing that I liked was when Eric showed up.
Hmm.
And he showed up, and everyone looked at him like, "Oh, we're going to have to put you down." And he like stops all the speculation when he pulls out the crown.
Yep.
There was
That was
something about
great.
that scene where I was like, "Wow, that was that was that was one of the that was
And
one
it
of my
was smart.
memorable scenes."
No, it was very smart play. Yeah. And seeing her, I mean, it served to sort of authenticate, her crowning and her ascension in a sense. I gotta say, this is the second time we've seen Hightower have the nerve to walk up to Dragonstone and act like he's gonna get out alive. And I mean, he got out alive. He came as an emissary, I guess. But that's just going to add to Rhaenyra's vengeance. We let you come here. My dragon could have burned you up in a second. We didn't. You left free. And no matter what Aemon says, no one's going to believe that he didn't do it. No one's going to believe that he tried to stop. And no one's going to have and this is exactly what Daemon wanted. Daemon's ready for war. And so
I liked how Rhaenyra went over and took the brooch for the hand brooch from him, and just like you don't get this.
Right.
and he didn't even fight her. He didn't do anything. He just stood there, and took it because, like it or not, Otto plays the game well. He's disgusting, but he plays the game well, and there's no reason for him to get into a fisticuffs with her at that moment. So if that's what she's going to do, let her do it, and trust that he's going to get back. And he probably didn't think there was going to be a war at that time because she said she'd give him the answer the next day. So, but I think it's clear now.
There's some really interesting foreshadowing here. I will say that I don't think things are looking good for Rhaenyra. Because again, she has shown us that she does have this, she is good. That
fair enough.
Have a moral center. She wears the crown of Viserys the Wise, of Jaehaerys, the the Conciliator. Aegon is wearing the crown of Aegon the Conqueror.
Yep.
And I feel like that alone is, I feel like it's foreshadowing some doom for Rhaenyra.
I mean, that could be. I mean, I did like the way when it came to the moment, she acted more like her father than she did Damon.
Absolutely.
She said, no, there's no reason for violence right now. We're going to sort this out. I'm not going to call up people to fight for me until I'm sure they're going to have to fight for me. And I think that's who she actually is. I don't think
That's
it's
who
like
she
she would
is.
have killed him. It's not like she said,
She
oh,
believes
but
in
you know,
the
Allison's
higher
my
purpose.
friend and all that. She's not exactly. She that's who she is. And
She
Damon's like,
understands that what
uh-oh.
is at stake and that her mandate is to hold the realm together and to reserve the line for, you know, in accordance with the Song of Ice and Fire. And she understands that that might mean that Aegon II is the Targaryen on the throne.
Yes. Yep. No, she knows
she
all
gets
that.
and I think that was pretty cool. Now that they've killed her kid, though, that's
game
something
over.
else.
That's just
She's
game
going
over.
to be and where this also puts her at a disadvantage is that she's not calculating like the Greens. She's not calculating like David.
No, she
is going to be making decisions purely off of vengeance and emotion and nostalgia.
Yep.
And
then
when you
sort
do
of
that,
cognitive rhetoric about how to keep the realm together. Yep. Whereas the Greens have lived it. She's going to be vulnerable to.
She's going to be incredibly
quite a bit of deception. Yeah.
Just
what
like
were you going to say
Annie
there, Stanford?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I completely understood why she sent her kids. What I didn't understand is why she sent her kids alone. Like,
agreed.
I my thing is, you know, because you could travel faster by dragon than you can by raven, right? So I would have had at least 2 dragons showing up every place, because you know that there's other dragons floating around.
But 3 dragons left. Who was on that 3rd dragon?
I thought it was Damon.
Guys, for some reason I thought it was Rhaenys. I just put it because that's the only.
Oh,
you know
she
what I'm saying?
Going to the Narrow Sea.
She was going. Yeah, she was going to go scout some area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's the vibe I got. But I'm open to the idea that
I was really
I think she said she was going to do
who was on that 3rd dragon? You're right. That was Rhaenys. Got it.
Yeah, I hope that's what it was.
Thank you.
I mean, my take on it is, I wouldn't have sent anybody alone.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, particularly the younger kid. I think the older kid could have handled, Jacaerys could have handled himself wherever he went, I think. Luke's a little too young for all that. Not age-wise, just maturity-wise. And why go out in a storm? But they had to do things at night, and I get it. And it was fantastic writing, and you hate to see what happened happen. And what I do like about the writing is... it really does reduce, as you said, Cianna, it just reduces to boys and their toys, right? Because
really good.
One of them wanted to happen.
He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Did not engage Aemon. He stood his ground. Like, I'm not going to break this oath. I am not, available for marriage. I will bring this message back to my mom.
Yeah.
Done and dusted. He did everything he was supposed to do. That poor boy.
Yeah.
That
poor boy.
I was like thinking, like, hey, he might make it out of here. And then I saw the shadow of Vhagar. I was like, oh no.
Oops.
No, he's gonna die.
And that's good movie making. When he shows up, he hears a roar and he looks out and he sees Vhagar, huge. And then he comes out to get on his dragon to leave, and he doesn't see Vhagar.
Yeah.
And that's just cool. That's just really good movie making.
That was
so hey, I got some viewer mail, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is last time Entertainment wrote in it. It was about the scene from the episode Driftmark where Alicent demanded an eye in exchange for Aemon's eye, and I had said that Kristen Cole went and she told Kristen Cole to go get an eye, and he started moving. Damon got in his way. That's not what happened. Damon didn't move at all. until Alicent pulled the dagger from Viserys and was starting to go after Rhaenyra. And that's when Cole started to make a move. And as he made a move, Daemon made a move to get in his way. And then a bunch of guys pulled him back. So Entertainment was correct on that account. Cole did not move to go get the kid's eye. He basically moved to protect. So that was that. So anyway, we talked about all that in our last episode. So Entertainment wrote back in recently, "Hello, Dark Loops. My intention is not to point out the differences between our viewing experiences. I thoroughly enjoy your cerebral review of the show. I watch each episode of Them Dragons about 3 times because my time is clearly not as valuable as yours." Well, first of all, Entertainment, thank you for writing in. We love the show. We're having our conversations, and your time is important as well, right? I am an avid supporter of your content and tune in to hear your deconstruction of a few of the shows you review. I hope you understand that I have nothing but love for your content. Now, with that being said, first of all, we gotta love Entertainment, right? That's how you do it. I love you. I love you. I love you. Okay, so now with that being said, the fire set in the building. All right, this is the last episode, right? When we asked, what was that building that was on fire, right? The fire set in the building was the home of the White Worm, Saria, the woman who snatched up Aegon and met with Otto in the marketplace. That could be. I just didn't make the connection between where she lived in that scene. Yeah. Okay. And then Damon's former lover, which we know. And I only wish we had more interest in the shows that we choose to invest in. P.S. Where is the fabulous Byron? Well, I have to tell you, we offered Byron the opportunity to be here this evening, and I'm sure that we'll podcast something with him at some point in the future. So Entertainment, thanks for writing in. Thanks for squaring us away. Just so we know, what I try to do here at Dark Loops is have conversations, and sometimes those conversations involved dissecting scenes, and sometimes they involved examining our reactions. So for me, it's after dinner, 2 glasses of wine. What'd you guys think of the finale? Right, that's the vibe.
Right.
So thank you so much for writing in. Anything else you guys want to say about the finale?
I can't believe we have to wait 2 years.
I won't be waiting 2 years. I will be reading those books.
She's
I'm
been
sorry.
reading books,
I can't.
right? No,
it's 2 years. Come on.
Well, here's the thing. So someone else, a lot of people are saying that. And then, a month from now, there's going to be another series. After that, there's going to be some other series. I mean, we've had all kinds of series between now and the last season of Game of Thrones. And so we'll keep ourselves occupied, and then we'll come back in 2 years and we'll do all this again. But you're right, it is 2 years. I just can't wait. That look at the end was just like one of the best ending scenes ever.
I mean, what they've told us, and I think they did a similar thing with Dany, right? The episode when Melisandre was beheaded. Did that episode end with Dany's nostrils flaring, which is very angry?
Right. No, absolutely. And you know what's coming, right? Absolutely know what's coming.
Yeah. I tell you what, I love this episode. However, I don't think it was, I could have done with one more episode. I don't think it was a great finale episode. It wasn't a great cliffhanger. I mean, like Stanford said, a lot of things happened, but really nothing happened.
I mean, this was...
Where did this end? Rhaenyra's mad. They're going to war. Well, they were always going to war. That was always going to be a thing.
Yeah. I felt like this was the pilot for season 2.
So for me, I think when you watch this finale, I mean, everything in the show clicks and you can feel how it was all leading to this. Right. And so I think the story they wanted to tell for season 1 ended. It's simultaneously what were the conditions that started off the Dance of Dragons, it's also Rhaenyra and Alicent's relationship. And so I felt like they brought an end to them being friends, them moving apart, and then, oh, hell no, we're not friends. And moving apart completely. So I felt it had sort of, narrative closure on that end. And, we talked initially, is this going to be a Westeros story? Is this going to be a family's story about a family? And it really was the House of the Dragon. It was about them. Most of it was local. Man, I dug it when they went to Storm's End, right? I'd hoped they were going to other places in Westeros and show them parlaying with other people, but
oh my gosh, how about Lolas Baratheon being illiterate?
That was hilarious.
I was like, oh.
Meister! we were watching it, and he says, Meister! We all just kind of laughed. No, he can't read. You think your Meister would know that by now, though, right?
It was a great detail.
If the Meister's not standing there when you're giving a note, he's being a jerk because you can't read.
Right.
And he's going to make you call him out. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a reminder that these great men and these great families and these great houses are just like Bronn said, they're just cutthroats who are kind of at the right place in the right time. There's really nothing remarkable about them at all.
Nope. Except the ones with the dragons,
Except for the Targaryens, obviously. I'm not talking about the Targaryens. Yeah.
So there was also there was the one scene where Rhaenyra was forcing the birth. Was it then that she was having flashes of her dragon? Remember there was a scene and then she was having flashes of her dragon yelling. And I wonder if they were trying it, or maybe that was supposed to be the dragon of the infant. And somehow there was a psychic connection being broken or something. I couldn't tell what they were doing with that.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't tell if it was her dragon or the babies. But I thought that was pretty cool. I wasn't sure what it meant, but it was pretty cool.
How are we feeling about the dragons themselves and the special effects on special effect works?
I loved it. I've not seen anything like that before in my life. I'm gonna be honest with you. I loved it. Of course, I also loved Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. I love that stuff. So
these dragons are impressive. My favorite scene is definitely when Daemon goes to claim Vermithor. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, that was an incredibly powerful scene. And you can see this is another big dragon that's been to war. He's got that massive gash on his snout. He's old. He's
Yes. No, that was a great scene. I mean, he's singing in Old Valyrian and was to do that. That was fantastic.
It's kind of a little like
Go ahead.
Altogether there to even approach a dragon. I mean, the Targaryens are they're just different. Like, you really can't.
Man, and I think they are, right? And I mean, we see it most thoroughly expressed in Daemon's character, right? But yeah.
It was pretty clear in Game of Thrones. Everybody pretty much knew that, like, if Dany makes it to Westeros, like, nobody stands a chance, over. Right? Like, it's
nobody stands a chance.
But Targaryen versus Targaryen, like, it's gonna be.
Yeah. I really hope that in season 2 they just open it up so we're over the land and we're in River Run, we're in the Vale, right? And I don't even mind if the dragons are there. I just want to see a bit of the world.
It's going to be carnage.
Any final things that stood out to you guys about this finale? All right, then. Cianna, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at @CC_Greaves. That's CICIGREAVES.
All right, then. How about you, Stanford?
You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Clubhouse, TikTok, pretty much everywhere at SW Carpenter.
Fantastic. You can find all episodes of Dragons in the House on YouTube at the Dark Loops Productions channel. If you want to write in, tell us how we got it right, tell us how we got it wrong, do so on this YouTube page or send an email to darkloopsproductions@gmail.com. I'll gladly get this crew of fantastic people back together to discuss your email. Cianna and Stanford, thank you so much for podcasting this season with me this
Thank
time.
you for having me. It was
thank
a
you.
good time.
It's going to be a blast. It's an absolute blast. And we'll be back together to do this in 2 years.
For sure.
All right. So there it is from all of us to all of you. Big hugs. And remember,
All men must die.
Bye-bye.